Okay, welcome back to the official Cubase YouTube channel. My name is Stevie B, and this is part 2 of this lo-fi hip-hop series, where we are writing, mixing, and mastering a track from scratch. In this video, we're going to take our simple loop that we created in the first video, and we're going to use those ideas to arrange the track. So we'll decide where our intro, chorus, and breakdown sections are going to be, and we're going to add some further details to the arrangement. Specifically, we'll be adding some percussive and melodic ideas. So let's jump right in. Okay, so just a quick recap of where we're at with this loop. This is how we got things sounding so far. And the first thing I want to figure out is, what's the target length of this track going to be? Let's just decide it's going to be somewhere in the range of 2 minutes. So let's zoom out here a bit, and I'm going to take our cursor to roughly the 2-minute mark, which brings us to about bar 41 here. Okay, so real easy. I'm just going to highlight what we got, and let's copy this all out to bar 41. And what I'm going to do now is just kind of sculpt the arrangement. So for example, let's say the intro is going to be we'll just do a quick 4-bar intro. So I'll get rid of this kick, snare, and bass. And we got an intro between bar 1 and 5. We'll say our first A section or chorus is going to be 8 bars between bar 5 here and bar 13. So we'll just leave everything in there. But once we get out of this chorus, I'm thinking maybe a breakdown section, another 8 bars between bar 13 and 21. So we can do the same thing. We just get rid of our bass, kick, and snare. Then for 16 bars, let's say between bar 21 here and bar 37, we'll do a double chorus. So we'll leave everything in, but we want an outro. Maybe we'll just do a 4-bar outro from bar 37 to 41. So just this stuff here. Again, one more time, I'll just get rid of this kick, snare, and bass. And now we have a really loose sketch for the structure of the song. And now that I have the arrangement, kind of loosely figured out here, that's one big obstacle out of my way. And mentally, I find it a lot easier to kind of write and throw ideas into a decided structure. Just having a really simple idea of what the structure of the track is going to look like just has a way of inspiring me. And it makes me feel as though we're maintaining some creative momentum, which is really important. So I'm thinking what might be cool to do right now is to add some percussive details to the existing kick and snare pattern. There's so many different ideas that we could throw at it, but I'm thinking this might be a good time to go digging for some interesting one-shots and loops. So let's click into the different collections of loops and samples we got here in Cubase. And maybe let's check out what we have in our hip-hop vault. Now just scrolling through some of these boom bap loops, there's some really, really vibey stuff in here. Something like that could work. Let's maybe try dragging that loop into our session, just listening. Yeah, I really like that. I think it might be a little too busy, and I think we could do a bit of chopping up to this loop to simplify it. Because if you remember, when we were putting our original beat idea down, the aim was to keep it simple and chill, laid back. And I want to stick to that theme, so let's take a closer look at this boom bap loop here. So I'm just going to drag this boom bap loop underneath our kick track so we can line things up properly. And let's just cut this busy section out. And I'm going to claw that back a bit, and I'm going to cut this kick out and match it up with our kick right here. Let's draw a fade in so we don't get that weird click. And just listening. Yeah, that already just feels much better. Cool, so I'm just gonna make a cut there. And let's get rid of all of this until we reach this little end section here with the drum fill. I want to keep that. We can still use that, I just didn't want to hear it as often. So copying these out, taking this kick snare, pushing it over here, and copying this kick one last time. Being careful so there's no overlap, and again, just making sure there's a fade. Great. Copying everything we got, and once more into our second chorus. Okay, and it's probably a little too loud, so I'm just gonna bring the volume down on this track. Try not to get too carried away with processing as I work, but I do like to be mindful of like the volume balance between instruments. That's something that I usually adjust quite often as I work. Okay, I'm hearing some kind of hi-hat pattern. I think that could be helpful. Something like this hi-hat loop could be useful. Let's drag that in. So this loop is 82 beats per minute, but our session is in 80, so we want to time stretch this a bit. I'm going to change my object selection tool from normal sizing to sizing applies time stretch, and let's stretch that out. Bringing the gain down a bit, and how do we sound? Okay, that's cool, but I'd rather hear those hi-hats on the offbeat. Let's see what happens if I just chop out a little section. Get rid of this and this. Let's bring that over here. Yeah, that could work. Let's copy that out. Easy. That totally works. Again, I'm going to copy that over to our second chorus. One thing I often think about is like, how do we lead the listener into these chorus sections? We kind of want to set people up, for when the beat drops. Really easy way to do that would just be to take what we already have in this boom bap loop, this little drum fill section specifically. Let's just take this and copy paste it to right here before our chorus and listening. Great, so we have like a little drum fill coming in before we hit the beat. That's perfect. I'm going to copy that over to our second chorus as well. Another really, really simple thing that we can do here to help make our arrangement a little more dynamic, a little bit more interesting, is just take advantage of space at key moments. So for example, let's take this like double chorus section here, and let's carve out a little space in the middle of it, right before bar 29. So let's carve out like a 1 bar break here, starting at bar 28. Just claw that back, get rid of my snare and my bass and those hi-hats and this boom bap beat, but maybe we'll just leave the last half of this little drum fill in, and let's hear how that sounds. And now that I kind of hear it this way, I think what probably makes more sense is to think of everything that we have here between bar 21 and 29 as kind of like a pre-chorus. So we can maybe strip back even more from this first section and leave something extra special for the last section. So for example, I can just, do something simple for now, like take away these hi-hats. And then when we come back to, adding some melodic ideas, some ambience and some texture, all that kind of stuff, we could think about also just leaving something extra special for this last 8 bars through the chorus loop. As you can see, I'm always thinking about ways of making the arrangement as interesting as possible. Every 4 to 8 bars, we want to be switching things up, adding and taking away from the arrangement. All these details really add up and helps the track stay fresh throughout the whole 2 minutes. And by adding just a little space here, I'm kind of renewing the energy of the track and keeping things from sounding too fatiguing or repetitive. And this is something you always want to keep in mind. And hip hop is inherently repetitive, so it's okay to use a repeating loop, of course. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be getting really granular about all of these little details, because they really add up. We still want to find ways to add some drama and dynamics into the track, even if the vibe is really, chilled out and laid back. Okay, so I like the hi-hat loop, I like this boom bap loop, and I'm gonna see if we can maybe find some interesting one-shots to pepper in here. Let's take a look at a different collection. We'll go to the LoFi Dreams, and some of these sound really cool. Like this, for example. I'm hearing that at the end of every maybe 4 bars or 2 bars even. Let's try dragging that in, see what we can do with it. Okay, so the timing is a little off. I'm going to quantize this audio actually to 8th note triplets. Let's go ahead and do that and see if that sounds right. Yeah, perfect. And it's a little loud in the mix right now. I'll fix that in a second, but I'm going to copy this out because I think it's going to work for the end of every 2 bars. So just copying this out to the rest of our arrangement, and I'm going to bring the volume of the track down. And just scrolling through a few more of these one-shots, this one sounds pretty cool. Really organic one-shot. Let me pull that into the session. Thinking maybe on the 2. Let me repeat that. Yeah, that sounds really cool. Cool, I'm gonna copy that out. Cool, so I'm digging those percussive ideas. Let's work on some melody here. For now, I'm gonna pull up another instance of the LoFi piano. Let's maybe try a different patch this time. We'll try this patch cassette deck. Just bring that up underneath the lo-fi piano chords. So this patch sounds like this. But maybe something with a bit more reverb. We have a ton of reverb options here. I'm gonna scroll through some of these, see if we can find something a bit more cinematic. Let's try overlong. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, sticking with our theme, really simple, really straightforward, open, minimal. I'm gonna throw down an idea here. Let's see what happens. Okay, that's kind of cool. I don't know if we need to do these little flams every time, or at least this one's a bit loud. I'm gonna bring that down. Again, I'm gonna avoid the temptation to quantize this. I wanna keep it nice and loose and embrace my human imperfection. And let's say we copy that melody out to our last run through the chorus, starting at bar 29 here. We'll leave this pre-chorus section open to maybe something else, or maybe no melody. And I'm gonna want some kind of like alternate melody for this breakdown. I got an idea here. I'm gonna throw this down starting at bar 13. Here we go. Few notes in there that I might switch around. When it comes to writing melodies for these types of tracks, there's no, secret formula really. I think my number one piece of advice is just to keep it really simple and intuitive, which is kind of easy for me because again, I'm not a keys player. So simple is really my only option. So I think we put down some great ideas here. I have a much better sense of like the energy flow of our track. We've put down some melodic and percussive ideas here, which are transforming the mix, kind of bringing it to life a bit more. And I think I'm going to leave it here before we add all the finishing touches. But before we do, something very important I got to take care of right now is just color coding this stuff. Visually, I just have a hard time with all these gray regions. And just doing some simple color organization just really helps my brain for whatever reason. So let's just say these keys tracks, we'll make them red. Let's put all of these percussive elements together. So everything from our kick down here to our percussion, we'll make these all orange. Our bass can be yellow. And that just instantly makes me feel better. So that's gonna do it for this video. For those of you who have trouble finishing their songs, this is something I totally understand and have struggled with in the past. I used to come up with loops quite often, but I had this tendency to get overwhelmed with the process of perfecting the loop before I tackled some of the more important objectives. Everyone works differently and we all struggle with different issues when it comes to producing music, but I highly recommend putting some thought into the track arrangement before you go down the rabbit hole of sound selection and processing. And that's what you've seen me do here in this video. This strategy has really been a game changer for me and one that has really helped me to structure my production workflow in a way that makes sense for maintaining creative momentum. Ideally, you want to identify the reasons why you might be feeling burnt out or demotivated to finish a track. For me personally, I often used to make the mistake of putting the cart before the horse, so to speak. I genuinely feel that it's really important for me to focus on creating a strong foundation and structure for the song before I get lost in all the details of the mix and adding all the finishing touches to it. But speaking of finishing touches, that's what the next video is all about. So I hope to see you in part 3 and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for being here with me. Cheers.